Hi folks, Derek McCann here and Debbie Munno. We've been working on a certification the last couple of days with Debbie and Jeff, who are US distributors. And they've come up with a really interesting piece for getting across strongly what emotional intelligence is about, and creating in a session, whether it's a one-to-many or a one-to-one casual conversation, creating an emotional connection to the topic of emotional intelligence, and also connecting very beautifully to the Genos product in particular. So what we're going to do now is Debbie's going to walk through, as if she was just having a casual conversation with me, and walk me through the set piece she's talking about. As she does so, just think of it that this is something you might do in front of a group of 100 people, or you might do it while you're sitting there having a beer with one person. It could be done casually with a piece of paper, or it could be done on the back of a beer mat. It really doesn't matter. Just listen to the way it unfolds, and just think, how could you apply that? And what we're going to do over the next couple of days is we're going to put together a sheet that supports this, maybe a few instructions, and maybe a sexier looking version of this video. But for now, this is just to demonstrate the approach. So at this stage, we're going to go, this is Debbie and Derek, take one. You're on.
Thanks for participating. You asked me what emotional intelligence is. So
yeah.
I thought that it may be a little bit more impactful to actually have you go through a bit of an exercise, if you don't mind.
Yeah, great. That'd be wonderful.
Awesome. What I'd like you to do is take a sheet of paper, as you have.
Yeah.
On the top of that piece of paper, I'd like you to write down the name or the initials of somebody who was really impactful in a very positive way in your life. This could be somebody who you worked for,
yeah.
someone you worked with,
okay.
a coach, a teacher, a mentor,
yeah.
but somebody who just really was very positively impactful on you. And just jot their name down on
yeah.
the top of that paper.
No problem. I know exactly.
Fabulous.
I know exactly who that would be. Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a series of 6 statements, and I'm going to read those to you in just a moment.
Yeah.
But as you consider each statement, I'd like you to respond with a score. That score is a 1 through a 5. So if you think about that statement, a 1 means that this person who you've selected demonstrates this skill significantly less than other people.
Okay.
A 2 means that they just do it less than other people. A 3 is typical or average. A 4 means they do it more than other people.
Okay.
And a 5 is significantly more than other people.
Okay.
So I'll remind you of those as we go along with the 6.
So the lower part of the scale is less than other people. The higher part of the scale is demonstrates it much more.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect.
So here's the first statement. As you consider this person, they demonstrate awareness of their mood and their emotions. They do that significantly less, typical, more, or significantly more.
And significantly more is a 5, right?
Significantly more is a 5.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Great. Second statement, makes others feel appreciated.
Gotcha, yeah.
Third, is open and honest about their mistakes.
Okay.
4, makes ethical decisions.
Yep.
5, manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations.
Yep.
And then our last one is helps create a positive work environment.
Okay.
Great. Now do me a favor, do a little math, and just add up the total of those scores. Write it down.
Okay.
And the last piece of this is I'd like you to think of 3 if you can. More is great. Think of 3 words that describe how you feel or how you felt, if it's in the past, when you were around that person. How did they make you feel?
Okay. Yeah, I could go on and on. So, but I've got 4 now.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Perfect. And if you think of a few others, you can jot them in there.
Okay.
Now, you've done exactly the right thing. Draw a line on your paper.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to ask you, we're going to repeat this exercise, but I'm going to ask you to think of somebody who's incredibly challenging that you are around.
Okay.
And again, this could have been a difficult boss, a coworker, a coach, a family member, but somebody who's just really, really difficult to be around.
Okay.
And I'd like you to write that person's name down on the bottom half.
Okay.
Now we're going to go through the same series, the exact same 6 statements, with the exact same scoring system.
Yeah.
1 is significantly less, 5 is significantly more, and everybody else is in the middle.
Yeah.
So if you remember, number 1 is demonstrates awareness of their mood and emotions.
Okay.
Number 2 makes others feel appreciated.
Okay.
Number 3 is open and honest about mistakes. Number 4 makes ethical decisions.
Okay.
Number 5 manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations.
Okay.
And our last statement helps create a positive work environment, or a positive environment if that's somebody who likes to work with you.
Yeah.
Now, as before, tally those up.
Yep.
And again, as before, I'd like you to consider what you felt like, how this person made you feel. Come up with at least 3 if you can. More is perfectly acceptable. But how did you feel when you were around and in the presence of this person?
Okay.
Or how did they make you feel even when you weren't with them?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Again, I could kind of roll on with an awful lot more, but yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for participating. First thing, I'd like to ask you, what was the score of the first person that you selected? The person who was great to be around?
That was 28.
And how about the score of the second person?
That was 11.
Okay, so that's 20 minus 11. That's a 17-point difference.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with me the words that you wrote down, the feelings that you had, how you felt when you were around your top person?
Yeah, around this guy was kind of positive, upbeat, energized, excited, worthwhile, ambitious, you know, all those sort of things.
All the awesome stuff.
Yeah.
How about the bottom person?
Anxious, negative, worried, not capable, and a lot of other things like that, yeah.
The difference between those 2 numbers, the 28 and the 11, and the difference between how you felt around that top person and how you felt around that challenged person is the amount of emotional intelligence those 2 people have. Okay,
great. And time out. So you saw what Debbie did. So what would you do from that point, Debbie? Because and particularly because you've done it in front of groups and you've done it with individuals. Let's just, because you've done it with an individual, say, now in the group, what would you do?
So in the group part of this exercise now, you have people who've been highly engaged. You will have people who will respond to you. I was surprised when they did that, where people were willing to stand up and share their responses and share their numbers. And so now they have an emotional connection to emotional intelligence. From there, I can now describe the GENOS model of emotional intelligence. How emotional intelligence applies to the workplace, what a difference it makes, how it engages employees or disengages employees. So I might go into perhaps a more typical GENOS style presentation and then the application into the workplace.
Okay, and let me tell you folks that Debbie did yesterday with another lady, and when she described the person who was the second person, the person who was less nice to be around, you could actually see her eyes fill up a little bit, and she became quite emotional. So it really, and this is the critical thing. If you read neurolinguistics, or you read anything else, you want to make something stick with people. You connect it to an emotion. So one, you've connected to this to people's emotions and make them see the difference between a highly emotional intelligent person and a low emotional intelligent person in terms that they understand and they've experienced it. 2, you've shown them that it can be reduced to numbers, that you can actually measure that. And 3, let me ask Debbie to tell you, where did those 6 questions come from?
Oh, it was a difficult task. I stole them right out of the GENOS questionnaire.
So what Debbie did was she went into each of the 6 scales on the GENOS survey. There are 42 questions, 7 questions per scale. And Debbie lifted 1 from each of those sections. So what you got there with mine, and this has happened uniformly for Debbie when she debriefs it, and it's happened with the few that we've done here over the period of the certification, is you get that really clear differentiation between the highly emotional intelligent and the low emotional intelligent person. Imagine if you can do that with 6 questions, what sort of granularity and potential for developing somebody and for figuring out how to develop somebody's emotional intelligence can you get if you got 7 items in each of those scales, if you got 42 questions altogether. And I'll just finally I'm going to ask Debbie just finally to read out the questions again, because I want you to listen to the tenor of the questions. These are behaviors that are observed by others, but most importantly, they are behaviors over which we have control. If this is a behavior that I demonstrate, or I'm seen to demonstrate to the people for whom I am trying to be highly engaging or highly emotionally intelligent, and if I'm demonstrating that in a way that is lower than I like, I can change that. I can be coached or trained to change that. And that is the critical thing about the Genos approach to emotional intelligence. It's not about measuring something that has some academic value. It's about measuring something that can be influenced by development interventions. So you can have a before measure, some kind of coaching, training, or simply reflection intervention, and then an after measure, and you can see the person's abilities increase. So just listen to the tenor of the questions as Debbie reads them out. These are behaviors. This is something you do not see in other EI assessments. So Debbie.
Sure. Demonstrates awareness of their mood and emotions.
Okay.
Makes others feel appreciated. Is open and honest about mistakes. Makes ethical decisions. Manages their emotions effectively in difficult situations, and helps create a positive work environment. And those were lifted one from each in the specific order of the Genos model.
Right. So you see, folks, what I'm talking about. So just in closing, we're going to develop this up a little bit, but start thinking. This can be used on front of, as I say, groups of people. It can be a keynote. It can be a casual conversation with somebody. It can be an exercise in the workshop, whatever you want. So before I close, let me give 2 pieces of, or 2 big thank yous. One is to Debbie for doing the session.
Sure.
The second one is to Jeff, who is actually sitting in the background off camera. And Debbie and Jeff developed this together and put it together and really made it work. And of course to Ben Palmer, whose questions were lifted from the assessment specifically for this. So yeah, so as I say, watch this space. We're going to get some more material on this approach for you. Take care.